How do I stop interrupting others? ADHD-friendly tools that actually help. Hi friends, I'm Caroline Maguire. If you've ever interrupted someone mid-sentence and then immediately regretted it, you're not alone. Maybe you're excited, maybe you're afraid you'll forget what you want to say, or maybe your brain just jumps in before your mouth can hit pause. Today we're talking about a question I hear all the time. How do I stop interrupting people? We're going to talk about why it happens, especially with ADHD, and how you can build new habits that help you communicate without cutting people off and to end this terrible shame cycle that we feel. This isn't about shame or being perfect. It's about building skills to help you feel confident in your conversations and more connected to people. And by the way, my experience over the past 21 years as an ADHD coach is that no one stops interrupting. We curb interrupting, we learn new skills, but there is still a lot of self-regulation involved with the whole interrupting process. And I am a person who struggles with this. And some days it's better and some days it's worse. I have a lot of strategies that I have learned from other people, have used with hundreds of clients, and I'm always experimenting and looking for the right solutions for this. Let's be clear, interrupting isn't about being rude. For many people with ADHD, it's a function of executive function challenges. Here's what happens. You have fast-moving thoughts. You want to get them out before they disappear, because there's a thing with ADHD where our thoughts just disappear. I don't know where they go, but they are gone, baby, gone. You speak to process, so you jump in while your thoughts are forming. You get excited and want to connect, so you add on to what someone is saying without realizing you're interrupting. We may also not have been taught by our parents who, although they are often in denial of being ADHD is highly heritable. So there's a chance your parents were also interrupters and they may not have taught you how to give people space in conversation. You have difficulty with impulse control and self-monitoring, so that filter doesn't always catch you in time, and there's a huge self-regulation component to this. This is how your brain is wired. And while it can frustrate others, it can frustrate myself, it's not coming from a place of disrespect, and it's also not something that is easy and we can learn strategies, but it has to be taught. It drives me bananas when I see videos on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok that talk about how if someone is interrupting you, you should cut them off or tell them they're rude. People just don't always understand that we're not being rude and we have no intention of being rude. Here are some tools that actually work with your ADHD brain, not against it, as my friend Jessica McCabe would say. Use a notepad or a voice memo when a thought comes up when someone else is speaking. If you're on Zoom, you can write it down or make a quick note. This gives your brain permission to hold the thought without interrupting. Also, you can reflect back to people. You can even pause and say 1, 2 as they end their sentence and then speak. This is a practice of giving space, and I often rehearse with clients and role play that active giving space. Practice active listening. Repeat the last few words the person said in your head. This keeps your attention focused on them and helps slow down that urgency to interject. I also practice with my clients saying, like, if you don't say this, will the world end? This isn't always the nuclear codes, so sometimes we feel this overwhelming urgency to say something, and I'm right there with you. I feel it too. But I love to ask my clients, like, is this really necessary? Is this something you have to really say? What will happen if you do forget it? And most of the time they're like, it would be fine. So that is another thing, is to talk to yourself and to start checking that overwhelming urgency to share, because that's your impulsivity. And sometimes you do really need to share, but sometimes it really is okay if you don't jump in. Hold a physical cue. Place your hand tightly on your leg or your wrist. This is a small anchor, but it reminds you to pause before you speak. Use breathing. Before responding, take one full breath. It gives you a built-in pause and shows the conversation pacing is enough to keep you from jumping in. I use this technique a lot. I also often center myself before I go into big or exciting social situations. I just spent all weekend at a family wedding and I didn't get to pause or center myself because of a hotel room snafu on Friday night. But for Saturday, I actually did a lot of sort of thinking and pausing and doing things so that I felt more centered. And I can't even tell you the difference and how much better I felt about myself and how much more centered in my body and less sort of dysregulated and buzzing around that I felt. Even the best intentions and strategies, you'll interrupt sometimes. You'll have a day, you'll be tired, and you'll just interrupt more. Here's how to recover. I love to have a pivot plan. Having a pivot plan, I feel like makes me feel more empowered and less worried about things. Say, oh, I'm sorry, I jumped in, please finish. Stay present, don't shut down and over apologize. Other people interrupt. I often watch people and many typical people interrupt also. It's just more prominent for us. We have a history of it and we've been told our whole lives that it's a problem. So it feels so much bigger to us. Stay in the conversation and continue to repair. That means maybe you give a little more space. Maybe you say, oh, I was just waiting for you to finish if there's an awkward pause, but continue to be in the conversation. Reflect later. If you had an evening, a day when you are interrupting tons and you've been working on it and you're wondering what is going on, ask yourself, what triggered the interruption? What was the urgency? What was the excitement? How did I feel in my body before I started interrupting? Identifying patterns help you manage them in the future. Curbing interrupting can really help build trust, confidence, and connection over time. It can end that dread self-regulation hangover that we get when we feel like we've done something and we feel so much shame. You don't have to speak less. You just have to speak with a few skills that help you with curbing interrupting. Interrupting doesn't define you, but learning how to manage it can change how you experience conversation and different people. If interrupting is something that you've been struggling with, you're not alone. This is a very common ADHD trait, and it doesn't mean you're rude or broken. It means your brain moves fast, and we have to slow down in the moment and learn how to do this. If this video helped, let me know, and please leave a comment and tell me how are you trying not to interrupt and what is working for you. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. I am happy to make many more videos about this. It is something that is fairly complex, but it can change, and I work on this a lot with clients, so I have so much to say about it. Thank you all for joining me. Bye, friends.